Well, in today's video, we're going to be seasoning cast iron with Crisco. Folks, if you want a skillet to turn out looking like this, we're going to show you how to season a cast iron skillet properly with Crisco. Now, as important as seasoning is for a cast iron skillet, and it is very important to take care of your cast iron skillet by seasoning it, the number one thing you need to do to properly season a cast iron skillet, first of all, is to move over to the sink and wash and clean it up. Now, I've got a couple skillets here I want to show you. This is a new 8-inch or 9-inch Pioneer Woman cast iron skillet that Teresa found at a flea market. And we already have one, a 10-inch, and we picked this up. I don't even know where we picked it up, but it's in pretty good shape. But anyway, I want to show you fundamentally what you want to do with a cast iron skillet in order to season it properly is you want to take it over here to the sink. And if you haven't seen our video about how to clean a cast iron skillet, then you need to check out this video right here and we'll show you how to properly clean one. But first thing you want to do to a brand new cast iron skillet, if you just bought it off the shelf, or if someone give it to you, or you picked it up at a flea market or somewhere, a yard sale or something like that, you definitely want to wash and clean it up real good with soap. Dawn dishwashing soap is just fine. It's just a mild detergent, but you want to get all the dust and dirt and fingerprints and everything because you don't know who's touched it or whatever. So be sure first of all and go ahead and get everything clean. And then the next step, what you want to do is you want to dry this skillet real good. Now, some people will put them on the stove or in the oven and heat it up before they actually season their cast iron, and you can do that. But I've been doing this a long time and I don't always do that. I've got another technique that I'll show you here shortly of how I do it. And so here you have a skillet that has been washed and cleaned up. Now, what I want to do to get ready to season this with Crisco, you can take a paper towel, you can take a sponge or something like that, but I usually like to do it with my fingers. Now, a lot of people don't do that, but I like the feel of how the cast iron feels in my hand when I'm putting the Crisco in here. Now, I know that this is an excessive amount and we're going to handle that. We're going to deal with that just shortly, but I want to make sure every little edge, every little nook and cranny has been touched and had a coat of seasoning or a coat of Crisco put on it. Now, there's one thing that you need to keep in mind about seasoning cast iron. It's kind of like if you have ever hand waxed a car. You want to take, and as in the movie Karate Kid, it was wax on, wax off. So what you want to do, you want to put your Crisco on real good, make sure you get it everywhere, come back and get the handle last, every little nook and cranny, because if you don't, you'll have uneven seasoning when it bakes on. So now, as you can see, this is way too much oil, and you want to make sure that you get all the oil off of your cast iron skillet, because if you don't, when you bake it on and you have that much excess oil in here, you're going to end up with a splotchy mess, and it's going to be hard to clean back up because you may have to partially re-strip it in order to get those splotchy places off of your cast iron. But what you want to do is you're going to keep in mind that less is best. So what you want to do is be sure get every little bit off of this handle, all the edges inside and out, and when you think you've got it clean, then you want to take another towel and you want to wipe this down. The idea is be sure and get as much of this off as you can before you start to bake it. And we've got our oven. I just heard the buzzer go off. We've got our oven preheated at 450 degrees is what I do my cast iron with. I know some people have different temperatures that they use, but you need to do what works best. And for me and for Crisco, it has always been between 4 and 450. 450 is perfect for me. But as you can see, this skillet, all the excess oil is basically wiped off of this. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to move over here to the oven, and you want to make sure your oven, like I said, is preheated at 450 degrees, and you want to have an oven liner in the bottom just in case you have a little excess oil, and so that way it'll drip into the pan and you don't have to worry about anything dripping on your oven and burning. So anyway, what I do, now I have another skillet in here. If you have more than one you're wanting to do, then do it all at one time, because it takes the same amount of energy to do one as it does two. So what we're going to do, we're going to place this in the oven, like I said, at 450 degrees. I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes. And the reason why I'm only doing 15 minutes is because after 15 minutes, I want to come back and pull this skillet out with oven mitts so you don't burn your hand. Pull that skillet out and re-wipe it again with a dry towel to make sure you get any excess oil off. And that way you won't have a sticky, splotchy mess. And then I'll put it back in the oven for about an hour. I do mine for about an hour to an hour and a half at 450 degrees. So we'll let this go for 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and show you what these look like here in a little bit. Okay, well, the buzzer just went off, so let me turn that off, and we're going to pull this skillet out now. You want to definitely have an oven glove or some kind of mitt like that, but here is the cast iron skillet's been in for 15 minutes. You can see that it's pretty dry, but what I like to do is go ahead and take and wipe anything off just to be safe. And boy, it's hot, so be sure and protect yourself. Wipe it down one more time. Make sure there's not any excess, which I knew there wasn't. And then you want to take and place that right back in the oven. And we're going to set our timer for 1 hour. And we'll let that go for 1 hour. And when it does, once that's over, we'll let it cool down a little bit. We'll come back and show you what one coat of seasoning with Crisco looks like. All right, well, it's been an hour, actually an hour and a half, actually longer than that, because when you put a skillet in the oven to bake a round of seasoning on it, you want to bake it for an hour, hour and a half, and then let it naturally cool down in the oven. And see, it's not as hot now after I let it cool down. But I want to point out a couple things here too. Number one is you can see the difference in the colors of both of these skillets. Now this is a fully seasoned cast iron skillet, and this one has only had a pre-seasoning from the manufacturer and then one coat of Crisco that we put on here, but you can see how good that looks just on one coat. Now you have a couple options at this point what you can do. Number one, you can give us smash your thumbs up to give us a thumbs up, or you can hit the subscribe button if you've never subscribed to our channel if you found this helpful. But actually, you got two choices here that you can do. You can actually start cooking in this cast iron skillet right away if you want to, or you want to add another round of seasoning. Be sure and let this thing completely cool down to cure before you add another round of seasoning to it, and then you'll end up over time with something like this. But basically just cooking in it is one of the best things you can do to get this pretty black patina. But actually Crisco is very helpful too to get you a good, perfect, even coat of seasoning. So anyway, we hope you found this helpful. We'll be coming back to you again soon. You guys have a great day and a happy new year. It's Mike and Teresa, Mr. and Mrs. Cast Iron. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.